Let's move on to our fourth and final main topic today. And our fourth and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Movie Guy. And Movie Guy writes, "Greetings, John. I work with a small theater franchise in Buffalo and the surrounding New York area. And as you can well imagine, the talk has been all Universal and AMC. And none of it is kind or flattering. I imagine not. Last year, this industry made $41 billion in box office revenue, the third highest in history. Under the current model, both theatrical and streaming are enjoying great success. Why would AMC, who we all recognize are pathetically desperate, and Universal try to upend such success is the common question right now. Thank you for what you do." All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yes, to Movie Guy's point, obviously the big news that hit yesterday that we were talking about around here and everyone in the movie industry was talking about was this deal that AMC and Universal had come to an agreement on that sent shockwaves through the entire movie industry. Now, for those of you who may not have been here yesterday or you're just getting caught up on this, here's the Coles notes on what this deal entails. So this deal between AMC and Universal breaks this down. Number one, AMC will show Universal films because remember, they had been saying that they weren't going to. AMC will show Universal films. Point two, 17 days after release, Universal can put out those movies on premium VOD for a premium rental, probably 20 or 25 bucks. Remember, the current theatrical window is 3 months. Under this deal with AMC, Universal will shrink the theatrical window from around 90 days to 17 days. For premium VOD, $20 to $25. Point number three, AMC will get 10% of Universal's premium video on demand rental revenue from that movie. Now, some people are misunderstanding it. AMC's not going to get 10% of all of Universal's streaming stuff. No. They're going to get 10% of the premium VOD rentals of those movies that AMC played in their theaters and then released to go onto premium VOD early. Point number four, a film cannot go to regular streaming services or regular rentals of $3 to $6 until after the regular 3-month window. So for at least 3 months or around 3 months, those Universal movies have to only be available online in premium VOD charges. So like 20, 25, 30, however much money they're going to charge. And then after 3 months, then it can go on to a regular streaming service, and then it can go to a regular rental price of $3 to $6. And number five, Universal can wait longer to put out a PVOD on a film if they so choose. So that's the basic idea of it. Now, we talked on this show yesterday about the fact that this will absolutely kill the movie theater industry. And we went into our reasoning why. But yeah, this deal, were it to happen, would absolutely kill the movie theater industry. Now, here's the thing. This deal can't actually happen unless the other movie chains agree to it. So, and we explained this yesterday, but it's all well and good for AMC to say, oh, we don't mind if you put out your movies onto VOD just 17 days after theatrical release. That's fine with us. Just because AMC says that doesn't mean Universal can do it. Because Regal and Cineworld, their owners, have already come out and said, F this, cold day in hell. We're not going to agree to this. No way. This model, Regal says, makes no sense. And so, if Universal is going to put their movies on Regal screens, which let's face it, they have to, they're going to have to honor the regular theatrical window of 90 days. So it doesn't matter that AMC says they'll do 17 days. Unless the other movie theater chains agree to it, it's not going to go anywhere. Obviously, there has been a lot of backlash, both from other studios and in particular from other movie theaters. I told you guys yesterday about that I had 2 movie theater, neither of which were Movie Guy who just sent in that message. But I had 2 different people involved in movie chain ownership, smaller ones, that one used the word stupid and the other used the word treacherous in talking about AMC. AMC has pissed off a lot of people in their own industry. Again, Regal came out and put out their statement saying, hey, what AMC just did makes no sense. And in the article it wrote, it will be a cold day in hell. that Regal. Now, listen, lots of companies and corporations say one thing one day and then do something different the next. So we'll see what happens. But for now, Regal's saying cold day in hell. No, we're not going to do this. This is a dumb idea. Makes no business sense whatsoever. And Regal's right. It makes no business sense whatsoever. But the animosity apparently is also stretching out to Universal as well. This comes to us from the folks at Variety, who writes, one European exhibitor who spoke to Variety on the condition of anonymity said, the level of animosity globally against Universal is like nothing I have ever seen. I don't think they care, but they have seriously pissed off people in the last 24 hours, and everyone feels the same way. This is from one of the exhibitors in Europe is saying that. And listen, I got to tell you, I've heard nothing but similar sentiments from people who have written into me, but also seeing in the Washington Post did a big story on this, talking about the animosity a lot of people are feeling towards Universal and towards AMC. But at the end of the day, the question becomes, why do studios like Disney and Warner Brothers and exhibitors like Regal understand that this Universal AMC supposed deal doesn't work? What is it that those organizations understand and know that Universal just doesn't seem to grasp? Or that AMC doesn't seem to grasp? I want us to take a look at this for a second. So let's go over to Mr. Campea's classroom again. But instead of using, everybody complained about my chicken scratch and my handwriting is terrible. Let's go over to a whiteboard here, okay? Let's go to a whiteboard here. So there's been a common refrain. I think there's some basic misunderstandings here, right? This is a saying I've seen a lot of people talking about lately. Adapt or die. You know, I've been hearing a lot of people parroting this phrase. Like there are some people, I mean, I think most people online understand that this Universal AMC deal was terrible, but some people don't, and that's fine. But this phrase I keep hearing being said, well, adapt or die. What does that mean? Well, you got to change with the times, John. Okay, I get it. You do need to change with the times. I get it. But adapt or die doesn't mean do anything, right? Like if somebody comes in with a headache, the answer is to not, take out their brain, Well, you got a headache. Well, let's just take their brain out. But that leaves me in a worse position than I was with the headaches. Adapt or die, or say, you know what? It's getting to be summertime. Man, I'm having a hard time. I want to lose like 15 pounds to kind of be a little bit in beach shape and whatever it is, but I'm having a hard time. Oh, well, you know what you should do? You should take a steak knife and cut off a big part of your thigh, and then you'll lose 15 pounds. Yeah, but I'll die if I do that. Adapt or die. I mean, yeah, you do need to adapt. Like all organizations, industries, corporations, individuals, you need to be always able and willing and recognize when it's time to adapt. It is. But adapting doesn't mean doing something suicidal, right? And this whole adapt or die thing, some people have been interpreting that as, even if it means doing something suicidal, like ensuring the long-term failure of the movie theater industry by entering into a stupid deal like AMC did with Universal. So that's the adapt or die thing. But I want to talk about how the movie theaters are adapting, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's look at this. Okay, there's a few important facts that we need to keep in mind here because I want to look at and compare what Warner Brothers and Disney has been doing versus what Universal is trying to do and see why it is working for Warner Brothers and Disney and Universal just seems clueless about it. Let's look at a couple of facts here. First thing that movie guy pointed out, $41 billion is what the box office made worldwide in 2019. $41 billion. That, as movie guy pointed out, represents the third biggest box office result in history. That is the third biggest box office result in history. Now, some people have tried to write to me and say, John, the movie theater industry is doomed. They're just like Blockbuster. Blockbuster died. Well, okay, but the difference between Blockbuster and what we have now with the movie theater industry is that Blockbuster saw year after year massive. If you go back and look at the reports, Blockbuster, before their final demise, year after year was taking massive drops in their profitability and then getting into sheer losses, like loss after loss after loss. And it was a massive decline. The difference between that, obviously, and the movie theater industry, well, again, $41 billion in box office revenue. And once again, that represented the third biggest box office year in the history of cinema. So it's a false comparison trying to compare what went on with Blockbuster versus what's going on with the movie theaters right now. That just doesn't equate. That just doesn't equate. Now, listen, you guys know on this show, I have yelled and screamed and insisted that there are a number of things that the movie theaters need to do to get more people back into the theaters. You guys know I talk about that all the time. So clearly there's still stuff theaters need to do. Make no mistake about it. But to try to equate the condition of the movie theaters right now compared to, say, like what Blockbuster was, is a totally false equivalency. Again, we just had the third biggest box office year in history at $41 billion. So keep that in mind. Let's take a look for a second at Warner Brothers. All right. Let's take a look for a second at Warner Brothers. In 2019, Warner Brothers made, get this, almost $4.5 billion at the box office. In 2019 alone, Warner Brothers made $4.5 billion at the box office. Now, while they were making all that money at the box office, they also have an online thing that is both network. It's a little bit ambiguous because HBO is both on network television, but HBO is also online. But they've got HBO, right? And with HBO, they are approaching 40 million users. HBO right now is approaching 40 million users. And in basic terms, these numbers might be off by a little bit. This was the closest numbers I could find. So we're talking ballpark here. So don't take this as being exact. But basically speaking, HBO generated $6 billion in revenue from HBO in the calendar year of 2019. I want you to take a look at these numbers. One is a little bit bigger than the other, yes. But look at these numbers. Theatrically, $4.5 billion at the box office, while at the same time generating $6 billion in revenue in another method. In this case, HBO, and of course now we have HBO Max, and they just took a 5% gain at HBO Max. Okay, so that's Warner. Let's now take a look at Disney for a second. Disney in 2019 made an astonishing $11.1 billion at the box office, right? In the theatrical exhibition of their movies alone, Disney just last year, in 2019, made $11.1 billion. Well, guess what? At the end of 2019, they then launched their streaming service, Disney Plus, and they are now sitting at approximately 60 million users. Take a look at these two models. Warner Brothers and Disney have a two-pronged approach. Theatrical, post-theatrical, right? Warner Brothers made 4.5 at the box office, nearly $6 billion in revenue. Nearly $6 billion in revenue when it comes to like their HBO stuff. A balanced approach. Disney made $11.1 billion at the box office, and guess what? That didn't hurt or hinder their growth of their streaming efforts with Disney Plus. Nor did their streaming efforts, now granted it got started near the end of the year, did it have an adverse effect on their box office. What Warner Brothers and Disney both clearly understand is that they have a strategy of a both and situation. We make money in theaters that can't be duplicated, And then after the theatrical run, we understand that there's been a massive paradigm shift to subscription-based entertainment. Subscription-based entertainment. HBO was already on with that, but they've doubled down now with HBO Max. Disney recognized it, and so they've put all their effort behind Disney Plus. So they've recognized we've got a both and situation. Make big money in theaters, and then a few months later, after we've made all this money in theaters, whether it's $4.5 billion like Warner Brothers, and by the way, 2019 wasn't Warner Brothers' best year. They still made $4.5 billion at the box office. Disney made $11.1 billion at the box office. And then they recognized then, after all that's done, we have developed this streaming platform where we are going to make money again. Because the old DVD sales thing isn't cutting it. They needed to adapt to a subscription-based reality. And now Warner Brothers and Disney live in a reality where it's like, hey, this is how we make money. We make money by having strong theatrical releases. And then after the fact, we use that content as an incentive to get people to sign up to our subscription services later on. We make money here and we make money here. It is a win for everybody. That has been what they've recognized and why this works. That's what they recognized, and that's why this works. So let's look at that idea here. Again, let's keep that 41 billion up there. Adapt or die. Okay, so we've seen the studios adapted by converting. I was going to say switching, converting to a subscription-based revenue model. Okay. The studios have switched to a subscription-based revenue model when it comes to their post-theatrical world, right? So clearly they have adapted. Well, guess what? The movie theater industry, the theaters themselves, have just gone through and are currently still in the middle of making the biggest metamorphosis in the history of the theater industry. Because guess what? Theaters, let me see if I can do this right. Theaters are also switching to a subscription-based system, right? Theaters are also switching over to a subscription-based system. So when people say, hey man, theaters got to adapt, the movie theaters have been adapting. And that's why we get AMC, I even forgot, what's the name? It's not Stubbs. What's it called? AMC. I forget the name of the subscription service. I'm a member. AMC Subscription Service. Regal's got Regal Unlimited, right? Alamo Drafthouse just introduced, before the pandemic, just introduced their own subscription system. So what we've seen is that both the studios and the movie theaters themselves have done this massive shift of adaptation, moving to a subscription-based model. And guess what? In the case of the movie theaters, it's working. Regal Cinemas reported incredible numbers of signups for their subscription-based service. AMC Theaters had announced that after a year or two of really developing and investing in it to develop it, they just started turning a profit with their subscription-based service. Everything was going well until the pandemic hit. So I would say that to people who would say, well, theaters got to adapt or die, I would say yes. But shooting yourself in the face with a shotgun to cure a toothache is not the type of adaptation you need to make. That is counterproductive. And that's what this deal between AMC and Universal has been. It is counterproductive. Instead, we have seen studios and theaters embrace the idea of change and making a massive fundamental paradigm shift to subscription-based models. For studios, it's post-theatrical run. For the theaters, it's in-theatrical run, subscription-based models. They are adapting and they are changing. And we've seen places like Warner and Disney do it extremely well. Warner Brothers and Disney are showing this is how you do it. And Universal's been like, well, we'll do Peacock and we'll blah, blah, blah. And just so they figure we can't succeed. We can't do it as well as Disney and Warner Brothers do it. So let's try to F up the whole system. Let's try to F it all up. But they can succeed. Peacock can be something great. It really can. once they change the damn name of the thing. Once they change the damn name of the thing, Peacock can succeed. But that is why you haven't seen studios like Warner Brothers or Disney in the past number of years try to press the theaters to shorten the exhibition window. Disney's never pressured, and not never. There was a time about 10 years ago, but in the most recent history, Disney has put no pressure on theaters to try to close the theatrical window because Disney knows, and Warner Brothers seems to know, that if you do your job right, that theatrical window not only works for the movie theaters, if you play your cards right, it works well for us, the studios, as well. And that's why they haven't tried to do it. And that's why right now I think Regal, Warner Brothers, Disney, they're basically exhibiting why they know what they're doing, and Universal doesn't. And AMC apparently doesn't right now. Look, just because something is clearly the smarter thing to do, that does not mean people will do the smarter thing. We could find out tomorrow. Like Regal just said that no way in hell will freeze over before we sign on for this deal. We've seen corporations do an about face, right? Maybe in 3 weeks we do see Regal sign up for it and it'll lead to the demise of the movie theater industry. Right now, all we can hope for is that sane minds prevail. That people start realizing, oh yeah, Warner Brothers knows what they're doing. Disney knows what they're doing. Regal knows what they're doing. These other places know what they're doing. AMC was in a place of desperation because they're in such debt. And when you're in desperate times, you do desperate things. Universal saw them as the weak buffalo in the herd and decided to target them just like lions do. It's like, where's the weak one? There's the weak one right now. There's the injured one. AMC was the injured buffalo limping along because it's got so much debt. So they targeted them. But all we can do is hope that these cooler minds prevail. Anyway, guys, that's my little breakdown on that. What do you guys think about that? Do you think Disney and Warner Brothers are showing them how it's done? Maybe you think, you know what, despite everything I just said, you still think there's valid arguments that the Universal model is the way to go. What do you guys think about that? It doesn't have to be the same opinion as mine. What do you guys think? I want to know your thoughts on this. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys.